Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Sophia and today we'll be talking about Punarvasu Nakshatra. These are souls from Castor and Pollux, and this nakshatra is known as the return of the light. So let's understand what that means. Located at 20 degrees 0 minutes of Gemini and 3 degrees and 20 minutes of Cancer. So to understand this constellation really well, we need to connect the dots between Ardra and Punarvasu. Because remember that nakshatras do bleed into each other. They're not independent of each other. So when the cloud of Ardra passes, something that resembles a silver lining emerges from the far corners of the great skies. Punarvasu is a nakshatra of light, but more importantly, it is the nakshatra of return. The main stars forming this constellation are Castor and Pollux. They are the mother and son duo that everyone loves. These are pure, idealist star beings who are known for their righteousness. So they hurt no one and they cast no shadows. This is a nakshatra of light. This is also the nakshatra of Lord Ram's birth. So very, very prominent. Lord Ram's moon was placed in this constellation and epic tales were written about his life. But we'll talk more about that later because there are a few interesting points to discuss. Did you know that the symbol of this star cluster is a quiver of arrows that replenishes eternally? This is also the nakshatra that was rising in the eastern horizon at the launch of the very first atomic bomb. And yet, its ruling deity is Aditi, the mother of all gods. There is a lot of mixed messaging with this nakshatra, but this is why it becomes very interesting to understand it. Let's deep dive into the characteristics of Punarvasu. The natives of this nakshatra are interesting people. Hints of post-traumatic stress from the entanglements of the previous nakshatra in Ardra are ever present in their lives. Because like I said, nakshatras do bleed into each other. But fear not, this is one of the most optimistic of the entire 27 nakshatra belt. After all the misery endured from their previous lives, this one is determined to overcome their traumas. That's why it's known as the nakshatra of light. With good sense that emerges in the latter part of their lives, they are formidable beings who walk fearlessly on the path of dharma. They are the ones you can count on to dedicate their entire lives to the betterment of mankind. This is how the mythology goes. Goddess Aditi is the wife of our son, Aditya. And so she is the goddess of space. But you cannot be ruling space and not have Saturn as a formidable business partner. Saturn is Kronos himself, the ruler of time, and we all know that he hates his father. So emerges a weird dynamic between mother and son that's one for the ages. And so there is the story of the 8 Vasus. It is said that the Vasus were deities who were cursed to live out as humans and experience the pain of existence. To relieve them of their curse, the mother goddess vowed to kill the children in their infancy and made her royal husband promise not to question her actions. Cooperating at first in fear of losing his wife, Aditi's husband said nothing. However, the agony of having all his children being murdered by his wife was too much to tolerate in the end. And so the royal husband stopped the goddess on her 8th murder attempt. This is the story of the 8th Vasu, who lived out his life in the protection and shadow of his mother, hating his father forever. So there are some challenges associated with this nakshatra as well, as it clearly indicates. With malefic influence, natives can face delays conceiving children. Due to such delays, many children can be born with challenging health issues. This can alienate them further from society, turning them into outcasts. But the rise of mother consciousness and difficulty with children seem to be common themes associated with this nakshatra. So natives of this constellation have compassion for outcasts. This is also because in their previous births, they were outcasts themselves. These natives acquire massive admiration from society due to their high value and high morals, but they can be self-conscious of how they are perceived by others, and they have fear of judgment. But vanity aside, these natives make for great parents. The ruler is the mother of all gods herself, which means she is the creator or the creator. So the question is, what came first, chicken or the egg? There are some repeating patterns and karmic lessons associated with this nakshatra as well. So people of this constellation face repeating patterns that never seem to end. People, places, and things keep coming back into their lives in a loop as if haunting them. Parents return as children, children return as neighbors, and so on. What is really happening is that a self-sustaining wisdom is trying to emerge. How many years do people spend on a therapist's couch trying to figure out their problems? These natives live through Groundhog Day till karmas exhaust themselves, never to return, giving them invaluable wisdom of the workings of our cosmos. These repeating patterns form the basis of the first half of the natives' lives. Once they have learned their lessons, a light emerges, which guides them into alignment with their dharmic path. This is when the darkness dissipates and they rise in the world. But there is an inherent quest for wisdom that can't be separated at all. The biggest quest for this nakshatra is the acquisition of wisdom. Jupiter is their ruler and blesses them with eternal guidance. So it's the destiny of these natives to experience the darkness before the light. This fine balance of crossing over these dimensions highlights that difficult line of duality, which they must encounter along the way. But the natives have the power to overcome this, as Aditi brings motherly love to everyone. It is due to this trait that people of this nakshatra can be exploited, and yet they are considered extremely lucky in whatever they do. Their naivete is compensated for by people who will always support them. But do not underestimate these beings. They can command an army at their disposal if they so choose. Let's understand planetary influences and their guidance on this constellation. The planets governing the star cluster are Jupiter, Mercury, and the Moon. The combination of these energies make for an interesting cocktail indeed. Wisdom, confusion, and emotion often tend to swirl around together. But whatever their life situation, Jupiter always comes to their rescue. Wisdom wins and the light returns. But what does one need when retrieving the light? This is when we'll talk about the journey and self-discovery of this constellation. So natives of this nakshatra tend to have a common story. Just like Lord Ram, there is a self-imposed exile of sorts, where they leave their homelands for challenging terrains. But after much loss and wandering in the dark, They always return and claim what belonged to them all along. Natives can make for excellent guides and inspire others out of their own darkness. Self-employment is an excellent career path for them. Lessons from never-ending life lessons and their eventual alignment with the dharmic path makes them honest to a fault. They understand that the untruth comes at a cost. This is where they leave themselves vulnerable to real damage from people with ill intentions, something to watch out for. And they're known to attract quite a few people with ill intentions. In psychology terms, this would be an empath attracting a narcissist, an anxiously attached person attracting an avoidant. Learning to set healthy boundaries is another lesson they must learn in this life. Let's talk a little bit about Castor and Pollux, the fixed stars associated with this nakshatra. Castor and Pollux are the eternal mother and child. They are destined to stay together through storms and sunshine. If there is separation in the cards, there is also reunion that is promised. The key here is balancing peace, happiness, simplicity, honesty, generosity, and being forthright and honorable all at once. Selfless service to humanity is their salvation and also the biggest secret to their success, because material things will eventually gross them out. Their success in the world is directly proportional to their benevolence, but giving to get something in return will do the opposite. A pure heart is the secret to breaking their repeating patterns in karma. But their quest doesn't quite end there. The path of action and consequences unfold quite rapidly. To understand this, look at Lord Ram's story. Lord Ram went to war to retrieve his wife from Ravana, who was holding her hostage. He fired innumerable arrows and left a trail of dead bodies in her pursuit. The natives of this nakshatra may have good intent, but if not careful, they can leave a trail of broken things along the way. Ever wonder why this nakshatra was rising in the eastern horizon on the launch of the atomic bomb? An invention of this potency has the capacity to generate free energy for the world, and yet, one arrow fired with or without a pure heart can kill millions in a flash. This is where we have lessons in resilience. Natives are known to be careless and make mistakes in their quest to find wisdom. Hence, it's seen commonly with these beings that the first things they do in their lives often fail. Can be marriages, jobs, businesses, childbirths, education, anything really. The list can be whatever you like. They move around in circles till they find a mark, because the next attempt leads to success. Can be quite frustrating if you really think about it. But as they embark on this quest for wisdom, forgiveness of others and of themselves is the crux of their karmic release. This is where we talk about karmic connections and benevolence and what is their importance. There is karma seen with mothers, children, and the motherland, because they form a major part of the story arcs of the individuals from Punarvasu. In the Ramayana, Lord Hanuman went to rescue Sita, who he considered his mother. Even at the point of his wife's ransom, Lord Ram offered forgiveness to Ravana. He said to just return her and all will be forgiven. This is the kind of benevolence expected of these natives. This is what served them in the end. So Castor and Pollux types enjoy improving upon things They like a challenge and can be exceptional project managers. Vulnerability in people is most attractive to them. They'd be very good at crisis management, disaster mitigation, and then risking it all to try again is all part of the fun for these beings. Princes who eventually become kings are born under the influence of Punarvasu, because once they become who they're meant to be and they've found their way, they are a force to be reckoned with, and then no one can stop them from claiming their thrones. So I hope that you enjoyed this podcast on Punarvasu. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.